Well, hello everyone, and well, it's been a long time since we did one of these. Welcome back everyone after a bit of a hiatus to the 2K World Cup for this 2021 season. We are back here on RaceSpotTV. My name is Connery Maddock and I'll be joined by the one, the only Nolan Rempel over the course of this season. This, if you're new to it, well, it's the Premier League here on iRacing when it comes to these sorts of skip barber racing, and I cannot wait to get this one started. Nolan, should be an absolutely fantastic season, as we've had always when we've been broadcasting this series throughout our very, very long history with the organizers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is one of those series where you just can't help but be excited when you see the name flash up on the screen there. I mean, this is arguably one of the most exciting Skip Barber racing series you can find on the iRacing servers, and for good reason. We got a good, 30-plus drivers here that are getting set to thunder around Road Atlanta here, this beautiful circuit in Georgia, to kick things off for a doubleheader of the season. And I honestly cannot wait to see what we're going to hold here, Connery.
Yep, I can't wait either, and well, let's have a little bit of a look at the schedule then, because these are the venues we go to here in the 2K Skip Barber World Cup for 2021. We start off here with a double header at Road Atlanta. Then we head to Interlagos, Mid-Ohio, Imola. Then we go to the very, very new and shiny on iRacing, Hockenheim for round number 5. Then we hit the end of the regular season, so to speak, with Summit Point and Suzuka. And then you see a lot of to be announced in the back end of the season. The drivers, neither of us, will know exactly what tracks we go to for those particular rounds, which just adds that little unknown element and a little bit of a, well, demand of adaptability from a lot of the drivers out there today.
There's a lot of very unique circuits you got on the track here, and varying degrees of difficulty as well. You got tracks like Road Atlanta, which are, they tend to be a bit shorter sprints in their lap times, but they still present a very unique challenge. I believe the longest track announced so far is going to be Hockenheim, and that is going to be a very entertaining race in of itself. Long Beach, obviously, that is a whole nother monster in its difficulty. Lime Rock Park should be an interesting one. We're just coming off of a very exciting race from the Primetime Series in the Emerson Michelin Pilot Challenge, and we've seen how tricky Lime Rock Park can be. When you get about 30-plus Skip Barber Formula 2000s racing around there, though, well, let's just say that's a whole other monster that's seen some touring cars and GT4s being thrown around there.
Yeah, absolutely. But enough about the future of what we can expect a little bit later on in this series. Let's have a look at the race facts as they are here for Road Atlanta. It's a double header. Not all of these races are going to be double headers, I'll remind you. So we have a short sprint race as race number 1, 6 laps in length here at Road Atlanta. Maximum cars 60. We are about 35 cars connected up to the server at the moment. They get a one and done qualifying session. You get one chance to get yourself your slot on the starting grid here for this league, and well, if you bin it, well, that's the very spot back of the grid for you. You do get one fast repair though if you did decide to bin it during the race, so you can get back out there. You get a drive-through penalty for every 15 incidents, both in race number 1 and race number 2. Race number 2 is our sort of main event, 22 laps here, top 10 reversed from the sprint race. And remember, the note at the bottom there, maximum fuel 40%. That will force a pit stop from each of your drivers around about halfway through the main event.
I think that pit stop is really going to be crucial here, because it's not like these cars would have to pit if they were at full 100% fuel. They would be able to run it straight on out. That is just a decision that the organizers decided to put in to force some strategy into the race. And I think that is going to be very, very critical, is getting that pit stop right. Everybody knows how easy it is to both win and lose a race in pit road.
It is. It's absolutely crucial, especially in this series where the margins are so tight. So as qualifying is just about to get itself started, they start their flying laps in about a minute and a half or so. Let's have a look at the points system. You can see on the left-hand side there, you've got the points for qualifying as well. So you get maximum 6 points in qualifying. If you qualify on pole position, you get bonus points for every 3 laps you lead, you get 1 bonus point. So it's not enough to lead 1 lap in a race and and get a bonus point. You have to lead 3 laps and you get a bonus point. But if you lead 6 laps, then you get 2 bonus points there, Nolan. So it really does accumulate if you're able to hold on to that top position throughout the race. And as you can see on the left side, there's points all going from all the way from first down to 40th.
I kind of like the fact that they've got 1 point for every 3 laps here because it's so unusual. We don't see that often in a lot of these series, but it does make sure that these drivers know leading the race is everything, especially early on and to the pit windows. In fact, we might even see a couple of drivers deciding to stretch their stints out as long as possible to try to get a couple of extra laps when they're a good half a minute in front of the rest of the field.
So your one and done qualifying has started here. There's Gonzalo Calvo heading his way towards the end of the, start of one of his laps, shall we say. As well, it's going to be the only lap, isn't it? It takes some getting used to this qualifying situation, but it is certainly potentially very exciting once push comes to shove. So we'll see Gonzalo Calvo head his way across the line to start his one and only flying lap. Remember, if you get an instant point here, well, that's it. You know, step a foot out of line and your qualifying is gone, so you have to be clinical. You only get one chance at getting yourself on the starting grid here for the sprint race, and you want to make it good, especially when there's so many cars in the field. So Gonzalo Calvo heading his way up towards turn 3 now, just clattering up over that curb. As he starts the descent down through the S's section here at Road Atlanta. Of course, you know, when we talk about multi-class racing, that's where all the holdups come, but not so much in this series. So, you know, we've got the whole drafting situation here at this track, which would be particularly important, especially here coming out of turn number 5. You've got to be careful with the exit, though, otherwise you'll find yourself very quickly in a concrete wall, either on the inside or on the outside. But now in towards the middle sector, turn 6, turn 7, and then you get yourself basically the most crucial point at this racetrack for these cars due to how much draft they have. This long run out of this corner, down the hill in just a couple of moments' time, and then down into the chicane where you can make those moves now.
You saw all the wheel work that Calvo's having to make in the run down the S's there. These cars do not generate a lot of downforce. In fact, they're the least aerodynamic dependent open wheel cars you can get on the surface here. And I think that's going to be really crucial as well. You saw the massive sliding understeer that he got as he exited the S's. Now counter-steering into the chicane as he steps the back end out to make that car turn a bit easier. Very much almost like a drift car. If there's ever a car that can be close to a drifting car, will be an open wheel at the same time. The Formula 2000 Skip Bar Machine is in across the line. It's going to be a 137, 128. Good enough for second place on the grid so far.
Yeah, and well, that's his only effort, of course, as the qualifying times very, very quickly come in. Of course, it's all these drivers only get themselves one lap currently. It's the driver of Pablo Espes that's taken provisional pole position. Here comes Benny Simonson across the line. Of course, no strange name to Skip Barbacars, but it looks like his lap was invalid, so he'll be starting near enough the back of the starting grid here today. Simon Edwards getting himself up into second place there. And a couple more drivers getting their laps in now. And that is the end of the qualifying session all of a sudden. So that's just how quick things turn here inside of this series in qualifying. But let's take a look then at your starting grid for sprint race for Road Atlanta in this new edition of the 2K World Cup. That is, I'm absolutely fantastically excited here for the event. We can pull up the starting grid right about now. There we go, Ludwig Iddy actually getting himself up onto pole position there. So there's the order switch, shall we say, in the qualifying as we get Philip Hammer up into P2, Alfredo Malo in P3, Diego Francisco down into P4. Then you got Giuseppe Vertellanini in P5, Christian Perez in P6 here today. Gonzalo Calvo, Kane Halliburton, Simon Edwards, and Pablo Espes round out the top 10. There's been a little bit of a reverse there for the top 10, it seems. Sam Kietert in P11, Brian Lockwood, of course, famous name in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, lines up 12th, and Nolan, you've got the rest of them.
13th place will be holding Alexis Tabiavica with Felipe Labert in 14th position. Gustavo Conde is going to be in 15th with Ali Favero in 16th place. Antonio Ribalta is in 17th with Alejandro Lero in 18th. Danielle Camareri in 19th place with Joshua Dancy going to be in the 20th position out of Carolina. Remco Plejser, apologies if I butchered that name there in 21st. Danielle Forgiorini in 22nd place, with Mark Sierra in 23rd. Andrea Spezial in 24th place. It is going to be Claudio Vocalibra in 25th. The last driver set a time, Sebastian Jackson here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, that's the qualifying order as it is. We'll get back into the race session then. Of course, it is going to be a standing start here in these sorts of events. There's Ludwig Gindi at the very front of the field here today, and we're off and away. We're racing for the 2021 season here in the Skip Barber 2K World Cup here as they storm themselves down in towards turn number 1, fighting a little bit behind. That was for positions just inside the top 10 there. Giuseppe Tellini trying to hold on to 5th place amongst the gaggle of cars behind. Christian Perez is one of those machines trying to bear down on him. Gonzalo Calvo also looking to improve positions here early on. But it seems like it's been a pretty clean race at the front of the field at the very start. I'm seeing no problems further down the order, at least no major problems further down the order. So it seems like everyone's kept themselves a cool head here for the start of lap number 1.
One driver did end up getting punted around. It was the 15 machine of Simone Zabolo. It was a bit of a tag around, but he was the only car to actually go fully sideways. Big lockup there from one of those blue machines from the back. That was Simon Edwards that had a big, he's got a car going to his inside too of Pablo Espes. So a lot of drivers getting really antsy here. We are single filed out though for a good portion of the grid here as we come down onto the back straightaway, the longest straightaway here on the racing surface. Now Edwards is trying to have a go at Sam quicker, and it is just so close between them. Here comes Espes trying to make a move, dips 2 tires into the grass in the process as he's trying to get the run on Edwards here in the run down to the chicane. Gonna try to make this work around the right side, but Edwards is covering off both lines here, and no room for Espes to get the nose in.
Yeah, great bit of racing between all of them though, as Espes still caught up in the middle of all of this right now. It's absolutely fantastic to see these guys go absolutely wheel to wheel, but there's the order, and there's the 3 wide at the very front of the field. 3 wide, 2 rows deep almost, coming in towards turn number 1. Look to Flip Hammer getting himself to the very front of the field. Christian Perez, Alfredo Malo, side by side, and it looks like Alfredo Malo almost lost it up over the turn 3 curve.
Oh my God, that is not something you guys want to be seeing so early on. It is only expected to be about a 6-lap sprint race, but still, nonetheless, it is just, look out, car sliding big in the background. Who was that? That was, that might have been the car right in front of us. Luke McGeady is the one that just went around. Edwards goes through, and they almost go 3 wide in the back again in the process. Good save, though, from 14 machine.
Yeah, Guidi's still going. He was able to recover it and get back in the race, but he's definitely in the thick of things right now. He goes very wide out of the right-hander, so things seem to be going from bad to worse here for Ludwig Gindi. Of course, started at the very front of the field, is now starting to cycle back into the pack. We're going to get a little bit more 3-wide action on the way towards the crest of the hill as you start to dip down in towards the chicane. Remember, this is the first race of the season. These guys are racing like it's the last.
About to be 3 wide into the braking zone. So tight around the outside line. Contact is made between the 105 and the 28 machine of Sim. Quicker just gets muscled out of line. A couple other drivers going to be going almost 3 wide into the last corner here as well. That is a very one-line corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars into the grass on the exit of the last corner as once again, side by side for the race lead.
Alfredo Malo to the very pointy end of the field. Christian Perez second in line. Diogo Francisco resides in that 3rd place. Philip Hammer, he sits in 4th at the moment, and Halliburton's a little bit further back in P5. He's risking actually falling off the back of this leading group at the moment, so he needs to get a bit of a move on, but I think he's definitely the driver of the caliber to be able to get himself back involved and into the thick of things in this leading group. It's been fantastic racing amongst the front guys at the moment. Yes, we've had a little bits of contact and a couple of problems further back, but it seems like everyone at the pointy end racing very hard, but I would definitely say fair.
already almost halfway through the first sprint race of the season, and Perez is still doing a fantastic job at trying to run down that 24 car up there in the race lead. This is going to be certainly something to see as Perez going to go to the right side. It is once again a drag race down the long back straightaway. I have a feeling this is going to be the scene all day long here, Connery. We are never going to see cars not side by side coming in through here. And just like that, that 24 machine loses out from first all the way back to third as Perez rockets through to the race lead.
Yeah, so great job from Perez to try and pick his way through. It seems like we've had a decent handful of different race leaders at this point in the race. It's absolutely fantastic how many times that these guys have been able to duel at the very front here. It seems things seem to calm down a little bit here. Here's Kane Halliburton. We're going to ride on board with him for a moment because he's all over the back of Philip Hammer. He's going to take a little bit of a different line here coming up the hill towards turn 2 and turn number 3. And he's just going to have to stay in line for now. That's just what happens sometimes when you get to this S's section. You can't go too wide through here, otherwise you're going to slow yourself down a bunch and you're going to let other 3rd, 4th, 5th parties involved.
I'll tell that to some of the other drivers in this field that have tried to go 2-3 wide through that section already earlier today. And definitely, there's a very slim chance of it working in slower cars like these, but it's still very slim to none as we continue to take this ride on board with Halliburton. You can see how powerful that draft is. Already closes up on Hammer so much here through the 2 hairpins, almost into the gearbox. If we don't see a move here for that 4th position, I will be absolutely astonished.
He's got the draft. There's also some dueling ahead as well, so things will be changing once again, both at the very front and for this 4th place as well. Diogo Francisco and Christian Perez going side by side for the race lead. Here comes Malo as well, making it 3 wide down the middle. How's this going to work out between the 3 of them? Alfredo Malo's the driver that gets to the very front and trying to claim those lead lap points. But remember, you have to lead 3 laps before you get a bonus point here in this series.
Perez continues to hang on to the race lead, but he has got Diogo Francisco definitely not far behind in that 48 car. Definitely wanted to get some speed here, so it's going to be very tight in between these guys as Malo maintains that lead down through turn number 1, trying so hard to hang on, but with just a couple laps to go here, just 2 estimated laps remaining here on the clock, it's going to be so difficult to hang on as all 5 cars here sideways through turn number 3.
Yeah, absolutely, and well, you might notice there's an R right at the very top of the graphics because Malo's, Alfredo Malo, his last initial that he's put on his iRacing name is R, and that's what our graphics take up. So the R that you see at the very front is Alfredo Malo here, so yeah, that's an interesting one, but he's going to not worry about too much what his name is on the graphics right now. He's concerned about winning a sprint race at the moment. Here's Christian Perez in that number 1 car. Well, he'll be hoping to get to P1 at the end of this race. It's very, very all a bit of a cluster here, isn't it? We'll get that changed over to laps. Of course, we are on lap number 5 of 6 here, and we might see another instance of going 3 wide in towards the chicane here. Might even be 4 wide because Kane Halliburton's caught up to all of these guys, and he's looking to challenge now, but there's no way through. There's a bit of a roadblock here in towards the chicane. Diogo Francisco to the pointy end, and now Malo is falling back a little bit in that Racecraft Esports car, or rather, Kane Halliburton's looking aggressive in the Racecraft Esports car. They've gotten themselves side by side now, 2 rows deep in towards the final turn across the line, and well, this is going to be the start of the final lap. White flag is out officially, and it basically is anyone in this leading pack that can take this win.
Francisco in the race lead for now, but he's got Christian Perez hounding his mirrors, but Francisco's got to really worry about Alfredo Malo just behind him because that 3rd place machine is not going to be giving this one up without a fight here. Kane Halliburton, no doubt, will be looking for these guys to make any sort of mistake here that will put him through to the front of the running order as well. Out of the S's for the final time in the first of 2 races today, the 6-lap sprint race. Still very much undecided. Any one of these 4 or 5 drivers still has a shot to win this, but it will be Francisco who's going to have to be bold on the defense all the way down the very long back straightaway.
Here we go. Francisco is probably, well, typically in a In a normal race, you would say he's in the best seat in the house leading this on the final lap, but not so, because he's giving a whole bunch of tow to those drivers behind. Christian Perez in second. Malo looking for the move on Perez for P2. Francisco trying to manage the draft at the very front of this train, but it's all going to be a matter of time before we get 4 wide. There's a little bit of wheel banging there, and there's been a massive wreck. Who's got through unscathed? It looks like Kane Halliburton's going to fight this one out with Diogo Francisco, his teammate, coming in towards the chicane. This race still isn't done yet because Francisco's looking on the inside of his teammate in towards the final turn, and it looks like, though, Kane Halliburton will have the momentum into the final corner to win the first sprint race of this double header. Kane Halliburton wins in a frantic finish here. Wow.
Halliburton coming out of left field, or more right field in this instance, made the decisive pass 4 wide around the outside, and unfortunately poor Alfredo Malo is going to be caught in the middle. He is going to be finishing it off in the 12th position. That is so unfortunate. He was running up front the entire race and dumped outside the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone else heading their way across the line now. We'll just take this brief chance to go very quickly over your finishing order, because the session changeover is rather quick here in this one. So let's show the results from the sprint race. Kane Halliburton wins by 1.5 tenths of a second over Diogo Francisco. Gonzalo Calvo in third. Christian Perez fourth. Philip Hammer in P5. Ludwig Guidi recovers after a poor start, actually. He gets himself back up to P6, but that was mostly recovered positions after that huge mess at the very front of the field, coming in towards the final chicane for the final time. Simon Edwards in P7, Pablo Espes P8, Giuseppe Tellini in P9, and Sam Kutit in P10. And you can see the rest of the runners. Philippe Lebert in P11 here today. Haven't talked that much about him today. Alfredo Malo fighting at the front all day, but caught up in that race-ending incident. Gustavo Conde, Benny Simpson, Anthony Cat further down as well, and you can see the last of the runners as they head their way through now. But my word, Nolan, that was pretty hectic, shall we say, and now we get ourselves another race, a feature race with some strategy in it. I wonder how that's going to factor in.
It's going to be most entertaining, I think is the safest way to say. The driver's currently gritting up there on the starting grid. Just a few seconds here before we get this thing underway. The top 10 are supposed to be inverted for this race as well, based off of the Heat 1, the sprint race results. So how this will play out is going to be absolutely crucial, but it doesn't look as if the results are being inverted here. They are lining up exactly as they started.
It does look like that's going to be the case, so we'll just take what we're given here. Kane Halliburton, pole position, Diogo Francisco on that front row as well. We're waiting to get the green flag shown here for the first main event race of the season. We go green here at Road Atlanta for yet more laps of racing. 22 to be exact in this feature event. And of course we have that pit stop to be concerned about as well as they head their way in towards turn 1. Battle for P3 going on between Calvo and Perez in these early stages. But I get the feeling, at least in the first half for this race, Nolan, that people will be a little bit calmer. But looks like Philip Hammer's a man on a mission as he just sends one down the inside of Guidi there.
Pablo Espes side by side with Sam Quickert in the middle of the field there, just at the right side of the screen, pretty much all the way down to the S's, but we are single filed out for just about the entire running order of the field now as we exit the S's for technically the 7th time today, first time in this future race. Halliburton continues to lead the way down through the double right hand.
Oh, someone spun.
Oh!
Someone spun at the very back. I'm just trying to see exactly who it is. Whoa, the number 2's involved in that. That's Philippe Lebert. Lebert involved in a huge accident, and he's definitely not the only one involved. We've almost got half the field in this one. Lebert is able to get through while not parked on his roof like a car in the background just there, but we'll just get a very quick replay of exactly what happened here, because it was quite confusing, at least from the initial view. Here's the view from up above. Leber slides his way through the right-hander. Is there going to be an issue with the rejoin here? No, it's two separate instances. Someone ahead of him had a spin and caused everyone to try and avoid, and the carnage that ensued afterwards is not very pretty at all.
Ronda, I believe, got over bits of that. I know Simon Edwards got sent over onto his roof as well, or really onto his roll bar, I should say. That is not what you want to see at the start of the first lap. That has eliminated at least 8 or 9 cars there right out of the gate. This means it is now going to be a top 6 breakaway. And Simon Edwards, a driver who's usually so great in the Skip Barber racing machines, well, he's out of the fight here in the first feature race of the year.
Yeah, he is. So that is super unfortunate. A major runner out already. Gustavo Conde also out as well as he got caught up in that. Of course, they will be able to get their fast repair, but if they've taken the tow back to pit lane, they'll still have to complete that. So it's still going to be at least a lap down for those that did have to take the tow. Here's the leading train, though. It has thinned it out a little bit here, I have to say. I'm just trying to find who the final car in this pack is. It is Philip Hammer. So it's a top 6 train, and then you have about 1.5 seconds back to Sam Peter in P7. That's not an insurmountable gap, especially with this big old draft coming down the back straight. But again, you have to be careful because you always want to keep yourself in the leading pack in these sorts of races, because if that happens, well, you always have a chance at getting yourself to the race lead, exactly like Kane Halliburton has done now over his teammate. But that was more of a negotiated pass, I get the feeling.
I think they realized that it was just going to be better for Francisco to back off and let Halliburton take the lead, because if they went side by side, or even if Halliburton slowed up, that would have easily allowed Gonzalo Calvo to come through and take the lead away from both of them. And you want to have a teammate 1-2 really controlling the pace up here in front. It can be so crucial to have somebody that you know is going to help you work your way up in front and stay in front as well. So what these two might try to do now is just kind of swap draft all the way down. And that's only when it's going to be when these two drivers switch positions. And they're doing this so they can, in this case, usually it's to gain speed. In this case, though, it's just to maintain speed so they can keep the rest of the field at bay.
Yeah, that does feel like it's the case, as this leading pack will continue to just try and negotiate itself here. I believe Halliburton and Francisco will continue to swap the race lead, just kind of slingshot off each other. That's probably the fastest way around the circuit, especially in these cars. At such a draft-dependent circuit. Everyone else behind, though, kind of just have to figure out where do they want to be when they come down on towards pit lane, because it is a very, very tricky pit lane as well. Remember, you're going downhill, and it's not easy to get the car slowed down either. And on the edges of the pit lane, you also have bits of grass. So it's a very treacherous pit lane, and of course, you only have to do it once in this race, but one mistake is enough.
Connor, we've had a big mess further to the back. Sorry to cut you off, but
we have
just had a big mess. At least 4 cars. Looks like the 203 might have been the one to start this one off.
Yeah, Hans Hoyer involved in that. He's in the 23 car, so we'll get ourselves a replay. We'll get ourselves cycled back here to see exactly what has happened. We'll go on board with Hans Hoyer. Let's see what happens from his point of view. It's all ahead of him, and he just gets caught up in that. A good couple of drivers involved in that. I believe you got the car numbers of the other drivers there, Nolan, as well.
And the 203 was the first driver to get around. I think he got a big tap to the gearbox, and that is all it takes to send it around. Yes, there it is. That will be the driver, the Frenchman, that got involved in this one. So we'll cycle it back, take another look at this one. It was the driver right behind him. I think that's the 252 that is just behind this car here, and right there, just an accordion effect.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened there. Guy Gaino? I'm sorry, my French pronunciation is not the best, shall we say. But yeah, he kind of checked up because the car ahead of him, he was afraid he was going to run into the car ahead of him, and then that caused a problem for a car behind him, and then everyone just kind of ran into the back of each other in that situation, which is, well, it's not uncommon to see in some situations, especially when you're not quite used to the other driver's braking point, so you're not used to them braking a little bit earlier, then that causes you to slam on, and it just causes problems further back as well.
Halliburton once again trying to go for the race lead around his teammate Diogo Francisco. And here comes Gonzalo Calvo with a big head of steam just behind these guys trying to go for the race lead, but he is going to back off and decide not to really go for it. So I think what Calvo is actually doing here he is actually saving fuel while all this is going on. The two guys in front of him are racing about flat out here. He's just sitting back in third, being content to save the fuel, because that means he can stretch his run out for longer, because the tires really don't wear enough that you're going to have to change them when you come down to the pits. It's only going to be for fuel. He's just make sure he can stay out there longer, maybe make up some time in clean air. That is a really good strategy from the 210.
It is. Yeah, it really is. He's kind of in the awkward situation, being third and seeing the leaders ahead of him swap positions, you know, or at least attempt to slingshot off each other every single lap. Let's give a little bit of love to the second train, though. This is from P7 and back, led by Alfredo Malo R at the moment, which is why we have a cheeky little R on our timing tower there. Anthony Cat second in line here, so we can get another couple of names up on the battle graphic here. So this is the battle for 7th, the front 4 cars: Alfredo Malo, Anthony Cat, Sam Keatert, and then Brian Lockwood kind of involved in the thicker things here. There's also Pablo Espez is the driver that's on the back of the train right now. We can have a little bit on board with him to see his view. Again, not a bad spot for Pablo Espez to be in right now, and it looks like the second train is also making some slow and steady progress to try and capture the front group.
In fact, they are. Kind of just looking here as 7th place is going to go side by side now. Cat trying to take the head of the train. They're only about a second and a half right now behind that train up in front. So they're just barely hanging on within drafted distance here. We might have another pass here as Sam Kicker is going to try to maybe make a move. I know Alfredo Malo definitely tried to maybe have a dive into the chicane, just wasn't able to kind of make it stick. But just like that, I've just noticed the gap closed in by a good 0.4 of a second through just that chicane alone.
Yeah, so again, progress being made inside of the second train. It looks like they're able to work together a little bit more efficiently than what the leading pack is able to right now. So soon, I think we'll start to see these guys maybe over the next lap or so really make some forward progress and perhaps lock on to the back of Guidi at the moment, who's at the very tail end of the train of that leading pack. So soon it will be a 11-car strong leading pack, which is what we absolutely love to see in Skip Barber Racing, you know, because you just never quite know who's going to come out on top at the end of the day. And we saw exactly that situation in the sprint race, where it could be that a handful of leaders have a problem, and all of a sudden the guy in 6th, 7th, 8th will take the race win.
And that's a good thing to note as well, is if these guys up here in this first leading train end up having problems, these guys back here, 7th on back, they are going to be right in the crossfire, because all they're going to see is smoke in front of them. And if the leader of the train starts to slam on the brakes and he's got somebody like Sam Creeker just behind him, it could create some serious problems for everybody in the back here. That's when the A-car is going to go through and pick up the 7th position again as the battles continue to pick on up here for the race spots. It looks like Christian Perez being forced offline here by Philip Hammer. We right on board with Luke Guidi, just kind of watching this behind here as Perez is able to fend off Philip Hammer for the 4th position.
Yeah, Guidi being a bit of a cameraman there of that battle going on a little bit further towards the very front of the pack here. So Guidi, again, just continue to bide his time at the moment. There's a couple of different approaches that you can make here in these sorts of races. You can just sit behind, just to make sure that you're in the right position at the right time to then come down on towards pit lane and get your one and only stop done. However, the tricky part is timing that one and only stop, because it is a relatively wide pit window here. You've got a couple of laps to try and make a decision, and especially at a track like this, if you don't come down with another group of cars, then you're going to be starved for draft, and that's not the situation that any of these drivers would want to be in.
About a third of the race in, and Halliburton is still running up in front there. 7 down, about 18 to go. Halliburton is going to try to position his car right here so we can get a good run out here, because all of these two teammates need up in front is a couple of bad corners, and Calvo will no doubt be all over them, because I'm pretty sure what we're going to be seeing here from Gonzalo Calvo is as soon as he realizes he's just losing time behind these guys, he's probably going to go for the move anyway. We're side by side from the lead again, and once more Halliburton lets Francisco through. Calvo makes a look for the position, but decides not to go for it.
Yeah, also pit window not really open at this point right now. Maybe in the next couple of laps or so. Lap 9 will probably start to see a couple drivers come in and take an early stop here to be able to get to the end of the race, but some might even go long and go a couple of laps longer. So that's the intrigue here when it comes to these races. It's all strategy on the fuel, and of course if you're deep in the track you can even get a little bit of fuel saving done as well to try and get just that little bit less in the pit stop, and that will really help you out when it comes to track position in that second stint. So while these guys are having their little brawl at the very front, we'll also give a little bit of love to those drivers a bit further behind as well, in the mid-pack for example, because here's a little battle for 13th going on between George Batusinski, Philippe Lebert. You've got Daniele Camilleri in that third car in line in this little pack as well, and Joshua Di Dancy again further in sequence here. So it's not just the big battle at the very front of the field, Nolan, that we have to be concerned about. There's of course we get points all the way down to a potential 40th place if we had 40 runners, so every single position matters and every single point matters at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why these guys might start really fighting hard as well in the run towards the end of this race. And this is another one of those 5-car trains. They're in a bit of no man's land here. The only car behind them is running on his loads, but in fact, this is really the last big train. Everybody behind these guys is really just running their own race, but they are simultaneously a good 5 seconds off of the cars up in front, and that is going to be really, really crucial to figuring out how this is going to take place. And we've had a big battle for the race lead.
Yeah, we have. This is the leading pack. They decided to go absolutely balls to the wall inside of the turn 10A, turn 10B chicane. Looks like they've been able to recover and to get themselves back in order. But I'm just going to take a very quick replay because that was a very, very confusing situation. It was just a whole bunch of draft, wasn't it? On the way down in towards the chicane, you could see lots of shuffling, Gonzalo Calvo involved, trying to go for moves, and Perez also trying to find a lane through. He was successful going down the inside there under the Suzuki bridge, so he was able to improve his track position. But Kane Halliburton still remains in the race lead, but I think Gonzalo Calvo gained the most out of all of that, as he still resides in P2 in that 210 car.
What did I tell you? If Calvo finds the gap, he's going to go for it. And now he's not playing around anymore. He had another look around Halliburton, this time from the run of the S's down towards turn 9. Was not successful in getting this done, but he's definitely trying here. He is not going to give this position up without a fight. So now it'll be Calvo versus Halliburton down the straightaway here. Now, does Francisco try to retake the second position with lap traffic just up the road?
Yeah, so you'll see it just about there, lap traffic further down the road, so that might be a bit of a concern here, and maybe the driver will decide to go for an early stop to not be held up too much by the chaos that traffic could cause in this one. But everything a little bit calmer this time in the leading pack going into the chicane, not going the multiple rows of 2 wide that they were in the previous lap. No one deciding to head down on towards pit lane just yet. This is about when that pit window is going to start to creak open, but I'm seeing no one decide to come down in for an early stop just yet.
You also mentioned as well that second train making progress. Well, look who's just in the background. It is basically a 10-car scrap right now for the race lead. The second train, as a result of all of that, has very much caught the back of this one, as the 6th place runner, Sam Quicker, who's right in the middle of this, he is now the driver right behind this guy. Philip Hammer was the head of the second train. He is just a couple tenths behind now. So all of that battle in the last couple of laps, it had the intended effect that the second train was hoping it would. Now they're right back in the fray.
Yeah, you can see the gaps on the left side of your screen there. This front train basically kind of covers the top 9-10 cars. Everyone within about 3 seconds of the leader there. So it's getting still remaining pretty congested for this leading pack, shall we say. That lap traffic getting closer and closer. They're not catching it too fast though to be a massive worry. I get the feeling that it'll inevitably be swallowed up unless these guys come in down early for a pit stop. Here's the typical switcheroo for the race lead going on. Remember, it's important to get those lead laps logged here because, well, you hit 3 of them and you get a bonus point. And you can earn more bonus points by earning 3 more, and then 3 more, and then 3 more. And Kane Halliburton still at the very front collecting those bonus points at the moment. Perez in third, had a little bit of a moment there with Diogo Francisco. Any visitors towards pit lane this time? The answer in the leading pack is no. But I have to wonder if anyone further back is going to decide to come in at this stage. I'm seeing no one for a scheduled stop at the moment, but of course we had instance earlier on where we saw drivers come down in. But no, actually, I am completely wrong. There are some scheduled stoppers now. Anthony Cat, Philippe Lebert are 2 cars down towards pit lane. So this is scheduled. Everyone else that has had a pit stop, that was sort of because they got involved in a crash at the very start and they came down for a fast repair. But these guys, fuel only in theirs.
That does take a quick repair to fix up his rear wing, which was looking less than pretty on the gearbox of that machine. Lebert, I believe, has done the same. So pit stops are very much going to be underway here. This really kind of reminds me how it works with stock car racing when you get to tracks like Daytona, Talladega. You want to come down with the drafting partner. So if you come down by yourself, it is really, really difficult to actually make time because you have nobody to help you draft way up and keep these high speeds going. That is why these guys are continuing to be faster lap after lap than the guys that are running by their lonesome. It's this long straightaway in particular where they're keeping that speed up. Now Gonzalo Calvo is going to go to the left side again of Kane Halliburton and try to take away the race lead. Perez will not be close enough to contend for the lead into the chicane, and Calvo is going to take that one easily. I think Halliburton might have just backed off a little bit to let him have it.
Yeah, so Calvo, will he get this lead lap? He won't if he hits his way towards the pit lane, but no such a thing for him. There's someone that did go in the background, though. Didn't quite spot who that one was, so we'll have to see. It looks like Hammer. Hammer headed his way down on towards pit lane, so he's coming in, and Pablo Espez. So that's the 2 cars in the leading pack coming down in at lap 12, sorry.
Espez with no front wing either, showing that these cars really do not need to have front wings or to be incredibly aerodynamically dependent. These front wings, if anything, really, Connor, they're more just there for style because they really don't do a whole lot. You see the lack of front end grip they have anyway with how slidey these cars are.
Yeah, so we're just on board here with Philip Hammer as he gets his service done. Usually we expect to see about 15 seconds, and well, he's close enough, but Espez is just about being able to get out ahead of him. He was about 0.4 of a second faster on his stop, was Espez, so that's why he was able to gain a slight advantage there on the pit lane and come out just ahead.
And now with the rest of the train just ducking their way now onto the back straightaway, the question is going to be, where are those 2 drivers on Hammer and Espez going to come out in relation to the rest of the pack? Because they were just at the tail end of the train here. If these guys stay out, those guys have a cleaner air to work with here, and they don't have to worry about a 10-car battle for the lead here as well. And look at Perez trying to go for the lead, taking them 3 wide for a brief moment in the run down to this last chicane side by side with Halliburton, who will try to fight back, but I believe we are going to see Christian Perez into the lead for one of the first times today. And he is going to be taking the pit road immediately, and here comes the rest of the field.
Oh, it's all going to get very close here on towards pit lane, and you got to get it stopped as well. You don't want to get yourself a penalty by speeding on pit lane. I think Francisco and Calvo almost came together there down on towards pit lane, so that's the vast majority of the leading group coming down in. There are a couple that stayed out, by the way. Guidi and Dancy did stay out, so they're going to go at least one more in this situation. Everyone getting themselves stopped in their box. I was afraid Calvo had overshot his box there, but he's okay. Where is Espez then? Espez, he's coming through the final corner. This is the first pitter of the leading pack. Where does he come out in relation? Was he able to get a good outlap here to come out ahead of basically everyone else? While Christian Perez has completed his stop, he's going to get out quite clear in this situation, and Kane Halliburton in 4th places. Espez, there he is in that yellow 105 car. He's kind of slotted himself in the middle of this leading pack at the moment, so kind of about where he was at the actual pit stops when he came in.
Well, I have to watch for Gonzalo Calvo because I'm pretty sure he just got a penalty for an unsafe pit release. You saw that too, got in the back end, twitched out a little bit, and split that blue line. He actually hit the wall as well on the exit of pit road, went out into the racing surface. So I believe he might be getting a penalty here for that one, which is, that will definitely be a race killer for the 210.
Here comes Gonzalo Calvo, 210, looking to the outside. 2 tires into the dirt and, well, grazing the wall
right there
on the outside. And yeah, the rejoin is, you don't like to see that. It kind of spooks out everyone else behind. So we'll have to keep an eye on what happens in that situation and see if there is any further action here in that one. Meanwhile, Guidi and Dancy have come down towards pit lane. So those are the final drivers that we were waiting for. They're coming down in now. Did Dancy? Oh no, that was just another car going on towards pit lane. I thought Dancy had missed his pit blocks there, but it looks like...
here comes Calvo. There's the penalty.
Yeah, so Calvo's in. There's the official word. He has to come down in for that penalty. That was an iRacing handled penalty as well because he crossed the line on the pit exit there, and well, you're not allowed to do that. And yeah, it's a tough one to take. So that's another top runner in this series, usually having major problems here. But let's have a look back towards the race lead then, see how that has ebbed and flowed. Perez was able to retain the race lead after the pit stop phase, but he's being followed very, very tightly right now by Kane Halliburton. He's looking to do the double here in the opening round of the season.
Still well within a quarter of a second here, so at any time you can see Halliburton have a look up the inside. The front train has been split up a little bit. It's really kind of just a four-car train at the moment, but I'm sure that the other guys, with time, as these guys get side by side more and more throughout the course of the race, they'll be able to close right back up. We should be seeing, well, it'll be a 9-car train now, but hopefully we'll be seeing that train reforming soon, because it is just always good fun to be watching drivers do battling that hard. Now Halliburton will go to the right side to go for the lead.
Here he comes. Simple pass done. Keaton also getting himself involved in this, by the way. He's kind of been a bit of a dark horse and had a good pit stop phase, and now finds himself at the very front of the leading pack after a short pit stop. And now he's able to get himself up into second. Brilliant pass there for Keaton, following through in Halliburton's tyre tracks and able to put Christian Perez down into P3 as they fire their way through the final corner. So final stints then, well, second of 2 stints, and we're on lap number 15, so we've still got a good handful of laps to go. So still many things can change. There's a lapped car coming off pit lane there ahead of these guys, which is not going to help them, but just the situation they have to deal with. Look at Halliburton, he's having to deviate his line to try and get past the traffic. It stacks everyone up behind him. They're absolutely nose to tail coming through the S's.
They look like they're bum crafting, the slightly zoomed out angle that I got in here. It is absolutely insane what we're seeing here, as here comes Guidi trying to make the look on the left side, not able to get the move done though, and here comes the rest of the train. Because of that lap car, it is now a 6-car train. And that lap car, by the way, is still holding up the other guys right behind you. You see it there, that gray and orange Skip Barber Formula 2000, and now Alfredo Malo is the guy right behind him. But now this has allowed everybody on back to about the 7th position to close on in because of one lap car. And they caught him at the worst time, too.
It takes one car to cause a bit of a situation and cause another little 3 wide for the race lead in towards the chicane. Perez holding on, fair enough, despite being the leading car, or one of the leading cars coming into that one. He doesn't lose too many positions. Of course, it does psych Kane Halliburton back into second, but that could have easily ended in tears, just like we saw at the very end of the sprint race. Someone coming down in, I think there was the bit of lap traffic, if I'm not no, Brian Lock. Hang on, I'm just going to double check this one. Yeah, it was the lapped down car, it seems, came down in, and unless... No, Lockwood is in there still. Sorry, that confused me just a little bit. He's fighting wheel to wheel with Diogo Francisco at the moment and just about getting ahead.
Because they went side by side through turn 1, this means that now Espes is not nearly as close to Guidi as he might like to be. So it's a bit of a 4-car breakaway here, but it's only about a half a second, quarter of a second gap back to the next cars. And look at that, the big run for Espes off of the SS and down this back straightaway now, coming up now to turns 7 and 8, and Ludwig Guidi, all of a sudden, he's going to have to play defense here, but here comes Lockwood trying to get the over-under as well, as Espes gets close to Ludwig Guidi, and Lockwood getting cut off here. He's going to be forced onto the grass. What are you doing at this point? Espes has got to yield because Lockwood's got the nose in.
Yeah, he has. There's been a contact. Bit of contact. They're able to keep it together, though. Espes has to back out and fall back in line. Meanwhile, back for the race lead. It's going to be a swap once again, perhaps. Perez going to the lead. No, he's going to dip back in line. So there we go. Kane Halliburton continuing his good run at the very front of this field. I'm interested in this guy though, Keaton, because he was kind of in that second pack, well, kind of towards the back of the first pack in the second pack in the initial portions of the race in the first half, but now he's been able to work his way back up. He had a pretty fast stop at 14.2, a little bit faster than the drivers around him, and now he's in a position where he can pick up the pieces and go for the race lead. He can even make it 3 wide on the final lap to try and attempt to do the same.
Indeed, it's very interesting for Kieker because he absolutely has the speed that he needs to take this race lead. The question is, does he have the time to do so? He's going to have 5 laps left when we get around to the line next time by. It's about 5.5 to go at the moment here. So Sam Kieker, he's got a bit of a dilemma ahead of him because he's got to make the decision of when you want to make that move. Do you want to risk putting them 3 wide for the race lead? Because you know everybody else around you is going to.
Yeah, it's your hand is forced, I think, in that situation there. He's when it comes to the last lap here, aggression is rewarded a lot of the time, and but it's so risky. Keaton, though, is he going to look for P2 here? We have seen races won from P3 on the final lap here in Skip Barber's, but he's going to feel like trying to go for the race lead now, 3 wide, as they head their way down in towards the chicane once again here on lap 17. Perez gets himself to the front. Halliburton has to be careful here. He loses 2 spots coming into the chicane, and there's a bit of a situation behind as well because Guidi didn't get a good run through the chicane at all and allowed Brian Lockwood onto the back of him.
Good on Lockwood, though, to kind of back it off a little bit to make sure he didn't turn Guidi around. So Ludwig Guidi is watching all of these guys battling that in front of him, and he's probably, if I was Guidi, I might honestly want to back off a little bit and wait for these guys to take each other out because they are just so close to crashing every single time they go 3 wide. It's just so nerve-wracking. And the one place you don't want to be is right behind a 3 wide accident.
Yeah, unless you're Moses and you can pick yourself your way through, or just make yourself a way through. Yeah. That's the situation there. But I mean, some drivers are better at records than others, so it's definitely a skill set that you have to learn, especially when it's more like pack racing in this, and there's a higher likelihood of contact, especially at the end of the event. We saw a bit of 4 wide in race number 1. Will we see that again, Nolan?
I'm going to say yes, because if you can go 4 wide in a sprint race, you can easily go 4 wide in a feature race when the field size is about the same coming over to the last few laps as well. It would not surprise me if we saw 4 wide. It's actually a lot more common than people tend to think coming down this straightaway here in these cars, because look at the draft that Halliburton can get. We might see 4 wide here as Ludwig Guidi gets forced out 3 wide into the chicane and contact. Quick Kurt gets run over by the 14 car on the entry to the chicane.
Yeah, Guidi had a big lockup into there. He's able to keep himself in contention, though, looking to the outside of Kita into the final corner. He's going to look to get the run off, and without Rumpy stalled, parked at the exit of the corner. No, he's going to be able to just about make it to the inside for turn 1. And, well, Guidi continuing to be involved in things here. It's he's had a little bit of a target on his back, and now here comes Lockwood trying to make the move up into turn 3 around the outside. Has to be so careful. Almost makes contact with the back of Guidi, but they're able to keep it together somehow.
So it's about a 3-car breakaway now. Then you got 4th on back to be in position, all running nose to tail and trying to scrap away to see if they can catch back up. They will be able to do that as we get back around to the back straightaway here. Alfredo Malo tried to have a look around Francisco, but Francisco did manage to cover him up nicely. So Halliburton leads. Perez in 2nd.
Oh, Guidi almost runs into the back of Halliburton there as he goes to the inside, and then there's more contact. There's another lockup for Guidi, so Guidi involved a lot of contact there, which caused that entire situation inside of the final chicane, which then resulted in Lockwood's pass coming up in towards turn number 3. So Guidi's car doesn't look too damaged though, so he might still be in this one.
Oh, absolutely. Guidi is absolutely still well in the fight. I don't even see any damage on that car, so I think he might have just barely managed to avoid getting any real damage. It was probably just a little bit of a tap, and that was about it. You can get away with some minor contact in these cars.
Can, and you can kind of half break the front wing and still be on a relatively competitive pace. Skeety, big move down the inside at turn 1. They're trying to get past Keita in that blue cyan-nosed skip bar, but they almost back wheels on the way up in towards turn 3. Big slide for both of them. Coming into the blind right-hander and now down the hill. They're going to stack up everyone else behind them. Lockwood is that car trying to find his way through at the moment. Geedy gets through on Keita, but it has caused a little bit of separation compared to the leaders. Not enough to lose the draft, but that's why you have to be careful going side by side through there.
Good grief. I mean, these guys just don't know when to quit. I mean, we are 3 laps to go, fair enough. It is crunch time here in this 22-lap feature race as Ludwig Geedy a bit wide through turn turn 8 that time by, and through turn 9. So not the best of runs for Geedy. It's a bit of a gap now between Halliburton and Perez. Now, can Perez reel him in? Because Perez at this time, I think, is more concerned about trying to fend off Geedy just behind him.
Yeah, we can see on the rear view cam here as we right on board with Perez. We'll keep track of how the race leader is going as well. He's not going to get a run this time in towards the chicane. It's just everything going on behind him at the moment. The pack has really re-established itself here coming into the final couple of laps of this race. We'll get 2 to go, heading their way across the line now. So this is going to be it. This is going to be some of your final moves of the race here, and well, it's all about the positioning from this point forwards. That's what Geedy's thinking about right now as he continues to try and defend from Keita. Keita going for the up and under, coming through turn 1. He's got a bit of an overlap on the way in towards turn 3, but backs out of it and stays in line. He's trying to think about the slightly longer game. We are about 2 laps from the end, but still, you got to keep yourself in the race to win the race.
What you want to also do is set yourself up for the backstretch, because that backstretch run there coming up to the turn 10 chicane, that is where all the moves are going to be made. That is going to be the money turn right there. The turn you have to get absolutely perfect. Same with the run out here through turn number 9. As we come up and go through the right-hander of turn 8, down to the brakes again for 9. This is where it's going to get so crucial for these drivers as they get so close to call. So we know we're definitely most likely going to be seeing 3 wide here at Conrad, potentially 4 wide. Just does anybody in this pack leave that final corner in one piece?
I don't know. I don't know. Race 1, I'm just reminded of race number 1 here, and I don't want to curse it, but here we go. 2 wide for the race lead in towards the chicane. We're looking for 3 wide here is Geedy, but it's the battle between Perez and Halliburton into the first apex of the chicane. Halliburton still on the outside, gets the inside. Oh, Geedy's overcooked the chicane and he spins out into the grass. There was a little bit of contact behind. The battle continues between Perez and Halliburton into the final corner. He can't usually make 2 wide work through there, but they have been able to. And now this battle continues then on to the final lap of the race. Is there any damage to Halliburton? There's a little bit of rear wing damage. Diogo Francisco down the inside now. Malo R getting himself involved in the thick of things now as well. He was in the exact same situation here at the end of the sprint race. Yes, there is a bit of drama. A little bit further back, someone's out into the grass there. I think that was Perez. Perez had a huge problem coming in towards the S's for the final time. And now this pack is split up a little bit. They're going to certainly re-establish itself. By the time we get to the back straight, massively loose over the curbs and over the runoff. In through turn number 5 now, looking for turn 6. Try and size up your run now to get the best slipstream possible, to get the slingshot in towards the final chicane for the final time. Who's going to get the run? Who's going to be able to make the moves to try and get up into the best spot for the checkered flag? That's the race lead. We're going to see 3 wide. There's a little bit of contact as Halliburton has to try and bide his way through. Malo wasn't clear as he tried to move his way across, and now it's the 2 teammates going side by side. Oh, Malo's going to shoot the middle. Somehow holds it together. Francisco and Halliburton battling wheel to wheel through the chicane. Halliburton might do the double here. It's a battle for P2 here as well between Malo R and Francisco. Keatit also stuffing his nose in. Here comes the run to the line. Oh, and it's loose. It's loose and bits of contact in the leading pack, but Kane Halliburton does the double in race number 1, round number 1 in the 2K Skip Barber World Cup for 2021.
Oh my word. Now I can finally start breathing again and let the good old oxygen into the lungs as Halliburton somehow managed to pull that out. I think Alfredo Malo got a little bit too aggressive there for his own good. If he just waited for Halliburton to get clear, he could have had the run into the chicane, but he just was too aggressive and just couldn't pick it together there.
Here's a battle for P23 as it gets its way to the checkered flag. Then, of course, these minor positions still matter here in terms of championship points. Tellini involved in this, Hans Hoyer, Ronan Griffin looking to scrap for position here, and it looks like Tellini's just about been able to do enough to lead this pack around under the Suzuki Bridge and come away with P23. Hans Hoyer looking to try and get that run out of the final corner, but I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately for him. The start-finish line is simply too close to the final corner, so he will remain in P24. Everyone else starting to trickle their way across the line. A bad day for Simon Edwards there as he has to sort of bring that car home. P28, not the start to the season that he would have wanted for someone so good in these cars, especially. Same sort of situation from that man down on pit lane, Gustavo Calvo, who had an incident in the second half of the race. But what a race it was, though, Nolan. My word, that was incredible. And again, it's a dice roll when it comes to those leading packs sometimes, but it seems like Kane Halliburton had all the luck and all the positioning to be able to come away with both race wins here today.
Couldn't ask for a better way to start off the season. I mean, this is exactly what you want to see. An incredibly thrilling doubleheader with these nail-biting battles throughout the entirety of the race. It is just so exciting to see. And it shows that even with that pit stop window, it just makes things all the more dramatic, as we saw one driver that was running up for the entire time, not able to get it done.
Here are the results then from the feature race here in round number 1 of the Skip Barber 2K World Cup 2021. Kane Halliburton does it again. He gets maximum points in terms of race wins here today. Sam Keatert in P2. Diogo Francisco comes home P3. Anthony Cat in P4. Christian Perez P5. Philippe Leber able to continue to make forward progress. He gets himself 6th place here today. Brian Lockwood, P7. Pablo Espes with getting involved in everything basically at the end of that race. He still comes home P8. Philip Hammer, P9. And Ludwig Guidi in P10 today. Then for the bottom half of the top 20, Daniele Camarelli. We've got George Majusinski, Benny Simonson, Manuel Lucetta. We've got Sebastian Jackson rounding out the top 15. Alfredo Malo, he was again fighting at the very front again for the second race in a row, but unfortunately not able to get inside the top 10 because of incidents late on. Alejandro Liro in P17, Daniele Fogolini in P18, Chris McGowan P19, and Ali Favero rounds out the top 20. And Nolan, you've got the rest of them.
Indeed I do. Joshua Dancy is going to be in the 21st position. Mark Sierra in 22nd with Giuseppe Tellini in 23rd. Hans Heuer in 24th. Ronan Griffin will be in 25th. Claudio Vacalabre in 26th position. Remco Plegisir in 27th position. Simon Edwards is going to be in 28th. The last car on the lead lap. Then you have Andrea Speziale and Simone Zamolo to round out the 21st through 30th place. Continuing on down in 31st, we have Antonio Ribalta, Victor Gugliano in 32nd position. Not finishing the race is going to be Gonzalo Calvo, 9 laps down. Gustavo Conde, 19 laps down in 34th. And Alexis Tapiavico caught up in that incident on lap number 3 to round out the 35-car grid for today.
So that's the order at the very end of the first feature race of the season. And my word, it was an exciting affair in the final couple of laps. It was, to be honest, an exciting affair throughout as well, which is absolutely brilliant stuff. We're currently waiting, perhaps, for a couple of interviews to come in and give us the driver's eye view or the driver's thoughts of what happened here today. I would especially like to get the view of Halliburton, our double race winner here today. But we'll keep an eye on the activity in the team speak to see when that is going to happen. But yeah, I think all in all, that was probably a pretty good return for the 2K World Cup.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is, like I said at the top of the broadcast, it's been known as one of the most exciting series you can find with the Skip Barber Formula 2000s, really on the iRacing servers, and they proved why people still think that today, and they've reaffirmed that despite the bit of absence over the last little while, they certainly have still got it.
Yeah, they really, really have. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of readjustment from the race administrators to see if we can get those inverts working for the feature race. It seemed like it kind of failed us here today, but it didn't really affect the racing really at all, did it, Nolan? We kind of saw the kind of very similar main names at the very front of the field, you know, making some good progress. We saw some brilliant wheel-to-wheel action amongst everyone as well. Maybe even the bits of contact here and there they were able to recover from somehow. It was absolutely crazy stuff, and I'm certainly looking forward to the future races of this season as well.
I certainly am as well. It's going to be an unbelievable season, and one that I certainly cannot wait for as well. It's been just an absolute joy finally being able to cover this series as well, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of the season has in store.
I can't wait either. Of course, the issue that we had was the invert grid was applied to heat the sprint race instead of the feature race. I think that's the problem that we had. But we'll just push that aside for now and just talk about how positive that is for, I mean, the type of racing that we saw here today, how positive that is for racing going forward as well. Because if we see that week in, week out, then I mean, this is kind of a series to watch, really, at the end of the day. And, of course, it's great to see it back here on RaceSpotTV. And, of course, maybe with a couple of different voices. I'm Connery Maddock. That's Nolan Rempel. Of course, you know, the only Will Vincent's commentated this series for quite a while. And, of course, he's kind of taken more of a back seat with regards to his broadcasting in recent times. But, yeah, it's great to have these guys back. They've always been giving us some fantastic action. It happened again here today. And we do actually finally have a driver ready for an interview. I will drag him into the commentary booth now. And Nolan, you're standing by with Brian Lockwood, who finished in P7 at the end there in the main race.
Certainly am. So, Mr. Lockwood, 2K World Cup is back, and what a start for you. You unfortunately have the best finishes in the sprint race, but you fought back from 16th to get a solid top 10 finish. So all around, I think you could call your day a relative success.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
We can hear you. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the icon's not showing up. Yeah, I think it was a good day. You know, I'm only just coming back to the Skippy. I've actually been coaching a lot with it, but haven't been driving it myself. So jumped in today with about 40 minutes of practice to go, and really just spent the time relearning the car, getting a good feel for it, feeling the track again. Of course, I have so much experience in this car. It's pretty easy to pick it back up, but I think that's what you saw in the sprint race. You know, I was really just getting back the feel for it, and then the feature, I managed to really start putting some laps together and move up along with the rest of my team. So really an unfortunate end there. I was looking at the P4, P5, but just missed my turn in on the inside trying to make a move on Christian. So apologize for that. Thankfully, he managed to recover and finish P5 ahead of me, so at least there's that. But yeah, overall, good day for me and a great day for Racecraft with the 1-2-3.
Let's kind of talk about the strategy side a little bit. It's something that we don't often get to talk to in these shorter Skip Barber races, but of course this series does, as always, mandate pit stops in the feature event. What's the strategy kind of like for that? Because some drivers tend to just run it out until the car runs out of gas, but here it seemed to be an opposite effect. A lot of people were wanting to kind of come down with a partner, and that is why we saw just about every driver within the top 10 come down at the exact same time. So what was kind of the thought process in figuring out when would be a good time to come in at pit?
Yeah, well, I think, and I'm no expert on the strategy here, but I think the general idea is we want to run the car as light as possible for as long as possible. And at the same time, maybe fuel save a bit here and there. So everybody did end up coming in at about the same lap. I don't think we would have been able to push it another lap unless we really, really focused on fuel saving for a lot longer throughout the race. Uh, but at the same time, I think draft is kind of a primary objective. 'Cause if you've got a duo, you can switch back and forth on the straights and gain a couple tenths a lap working together that way. But generally, if you hit a lap early and you end up alone for a lap, you could end up, well, just not getting that bonus, or even worse, catching up car in the mid pack, catching up to a car in the mid pack and getting slowed down there. So again, generally, I think the play was pretty easy to pick in the end. I guess everybody else was on the same page.
We kind of look forward in the season, and race number 2 is going to be with a very, very similar format with the sprint and feature races. It's going to be at Interlagos, though. That is going to be another interesting race in of itself. Particularly, I'm going to be excited to watch the massive drag races we're going to be seeing off of Jinsao all the way up to the start finish line. What are your thoughts, though, kind of coming into the next portion of the series? Now that you've gotten some time to get get the skip armor back onto your feet again, you reckon you could potentially go for that top 5 when we come around to race 2?
Well, we'll see. I certainly hope so. It's really fun to be out here in a series where I can actually work together with teammates on track, not just preparing off track. So certainly going to be looking for a solid result at Interlagos. Honestly, the racing's going to be great. It's going to be exciting. It might be chaotic. So who knows? Hopefully, we'll get the short end of the stick there. But I think Interlagos in this car is going to make for a lot of really good side-by-side battles. So at the very least, it'll be exciting.
We would expect nothing less from a series as exciting as this one has certainly been for its season opener. Well, before we let you go here, then, anybody you'd like to shout out for?
Uh, yeah, and everybody at Racecraft, so Kane, Sam, and Diogo all had a mega performance today. Worked really well together. Just did an awesome job. And Kane in particular actually spent some time in practice leading me around the track and showing me braking points, making sure I wasn't missing anything on the lines. So special thanks to Kane. I don't think I would have been up to speed enough to run with the front pack without him.
Thank you, Brian, for taking the time to join us here today. Congratulations on the great recovery up to 7th place today. And we hope to talk to you again when we speak to you again. When we come around for the second round at Interlagos.
Sure, hope so. Thanks, guys.
Well, there we go then. That was Brian Lockwood from Racecraft Esports then, of course, represents that same team in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, which is the top level of racing here on the iRacing service with that insane prize pool and organized by iRacing themselves. Of course, he's been, really trying to punch above his weight in that particular series. But good to see that even some of the very, very top drivers on iRacing continue to get involved in the sorts of sort of more club-esque racing like this.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it also does a good job of showing what a popular car the Skip Barber can be. I mean, you get some drivers that tend to just go up and run the higher tier stuff in the service. And then you get people like Lockwood who sometimes they just like to go back and start right from grassroots again. And this is the kind of the big training car when it comes to open wheel racing on the service. And it is understandable to see why it is so incredibly popular, even for drivers that are all the way up at the top level of racing.
We'll get a very, very quick word in here with Diogo Francisco as I will bring him into the commentary booth right now. Diogo, it was quite an involved race for you, wasn't it? You came home P3 at the end of the second event there, the main event, but honestly, anyone at the very front of that leading train could have come away with that one.
Yeah, that was a great way to come back to racing in the 2K Cup. Just very aggressive back racing as usual. and it's such a fine, such an attractive kind of racing. I think it could have gone to anyone, to be honest, in the like 7 or 8 first cars in the field.
Yeah, it really could have. Did you have an overall strategy coming into this event, or was it kind of a more of a turn up and drive and see where you are sort of situation here for this first round?
With the new format, with the sprint and the feature race and the inversion of the grid, we kind of just wanted to see how it went before we decided on anything. So we just adapted to the circumstances. In the first race, me and Kane were able to control the race, and on the second one, it was way more chaotic because the group was less less well behaved, way more aggressive, let's say. So it was it was such crazy racing. Really, from the outside, it may actually seem more a little bit more calm than it was.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a special kind of driver to really keep calm in those big long trains and to make sure you're in the right place at the right time. But it seems like you've started off your season quite well here. Are you optimistic that you can build off of this now into the, I guess, the first couple of rounds of the first half of the season to try and mount a championship challenge?
Yeah, I've been it's been such a long time since I've raced these cars. It's just I don't know. I'm gonna take it race by race and just try to have as much fun as I can with these cars and against this really high quality field. So yeah, just race by race.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. By the way, it's good to see these drivers start to trickle their way in for the interview. I think they've kind of realised that we are doing interviews, so they're all starting to slowly and steadily but come in right now. But thank you very much for joining us, Diogo, and great job on the podium.
Yeah, thank you so much. Just a special thanks to my teammates at Racecraft. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, a couple of good results there from Racecraft Esports. Of course, Diogo Francisco, one of those drivers. We also had Kane Halliburton do the double here today. So it's a great day for that particular team in this first round of the 2K Skip Barber World Cup. We do have another driver waiting, though, Nolan. We actually have Mr. Sam Keeter getting himself up into the commentary for second place here today, Nolan. And, well, again, one of those drivers that really climbed his way through.
Absolutely. And, well, we have to thank you, Sam, for taking the time to join us here today. Started 10th in the feature race, managed to come through second, just a quarter of a second behind came Halliburton, who did go through to get the double. But as he began to climb the grid, what were your thoughts here, Sam, as you saw some of the incredibly aggressive racing that we saw in the closing stages?
Yeah, especially at 10. Thanks for letting me in. Nice to have a talk with you guys. Yeah, it was a hectic race. Even in the beginning of the race, or at least I got a gap to the top of the field. So I think just right before the lap, before the refuel, um, we got the gap back and made a group of 11. The refueling was pretty hectic, I think, with all the cars coming in at the same time, and I think I gained a lot of time there. And from there on, yeah, the last 5 laps were just switcheroo all the time, and well, I got a lot of front wing damage. So for me, it was just yes, sticking, waiting till yeah they go 3 wide into the chicane and try to get a good exit from there and take a position.
Despite not quite being able to come through to take the win, I think you've definitely shown that you are absolutely a driver that is going to be intending on running up there at the front of the field with the rest of these guys, and you fully intend on competing for those top spots. Kind of look forward to the rest of the season. Where do you expect us to see you? Can we always expect to see these, frankly, brilliant performances like we saw from you to put together here today?
Yeah, I hope that I can join almost every race. I think sometimes it will overlap with some other races, but yeah, we just try to join as many races as possible. And when we are in those races, yeah, just try to dominance with the team and yeah, like get that 1, 2, 3 like we got today.
So we look forward, I think next up is going to be Interlagos, and that is going to be an incredibly exciting race in of its own right. But if we kind of look back, how do you think you can sum up how today's race went for you? Because you did not have the best of qualifying runs. You did finish 11th and was only able to put together 10th in the 6th lap sprint race. But you did seem to get the hang of the car and put a much better performance together for the second feature race.
Yeah, the sprint race, I got a really good start. I think after lap 1 I was at P7 or 8. And yeah, it was just I think someone overtook me there, and from there on, one and the other were coming, so I fall back to 14. So yeah, that was just a bit unlucky with the traffic, you can say, on the moment. On that moment, still getting close to the top 10, but I think it's gonna be even more chaotic at Interlagos because of the long straight. Of course, the straight is here long as well, but because it's going uphill in the beginning section, yeah, it's gonna be tough to when you're in first place to carry that momentum all to the end of the straight and still be in P1. Like here, but I think it's gonna be a bit more heavy with maybe 4 to, to even 5 wide. It's a wide circuit, so yeah, let's see what we can do there.
And hopefully we will have the chance to talk to you again at round number 2 in Interlagos later on this year. Thank you for taking the time to join us, Sam. Before we let you go, anybody that you'd like to shout out for us today?
Yeah, thank you for joining again, and yeah, of course, my team Racecraft Esports. I think we four all did a good job here. 1, 2, 3, yeah, so we can't complain what I said. And yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season and taking as much points as possible with us.
Thank you, Mr. Keydert, for taking the time to join us today. Best of luck next week.
That's it.
That was Sam Keydert. Connery finishing in the second place. Not quite able to put together a race win today, but we do wish him the best of luck in the next one.
Yep, we really, really do, and it's great to get the insights to inside the minds of the drivers when it comes to the downtime after these sorts of races, because, you know, after the hecticness was the 2 races here today, it's good to maybe calm down a little bit and talk about what happened, but yeah, that's all the interviews that we're going to do here today. What a return to RaceSpotTV. What a return to the iRacing service for the 2K World Cup here in the at Road Atlanta. It's been an absolutely enthralling race number 1, event number 1 technically, since it was a double header, but we head to Interlagos for our next event. It's going to be a slightly different kind of racing there at the creme de la creme of Brazilian racetracks. But I've been Connery Maddock, that's been Nolan Rempel, and we'll see you guys exact same time, same place next time. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.